I'm sure my guests are right on time. For some who are watching today, you may be facing overwhelming challenges or grieving a loss. Perhaps fear is the biggest factor in your day. The Denbestens are here from Orlando, Florida. That's good news already. Sunshine has arrived. They've walked through catastrophe, and they want to encourage you that miracles do happen. Kris, the husband and dad, is CEO of an international business headquartered in Orlando, where he lives with his lovely wife, Robin, and their 3 children. The boys are not here today, Cole and Brooks. Honorable mention, however. The rose in between mom and dad is Gracyn, and she is the middle child, and she is one of God's miracles. We are thrilled that you could come and tell a capsule of a story that is captured in full in this book, Gracyn's Song, a journey from facing crisis to finding hope. Well, let's go back to Christmas 2008. Who wants to start? Let's start with let's start with the person with some symptoms here. Gracyn, how were you feeling in the middle of the night on Christmas Eve?
Well, I hadn't been feeling well the weeks prior, and I had just kind of felt like a cold at first, and then it kept getting worse and it kept getting worse. And that night, I was so restless I couldn't sleep. In fact, we had a movie going on in the other room, and I was trying to sleep with my dad, but then I would go back and watch the movie and go back into the bedroom because I just couldn't stay still.
And already that week, a couple days prior, I had taken her to the pediatrician because she hadn't been feeling well. So we went on that Monday and they said, hey, listen, she has what everybody else has. It's going around. It's a virus. Here's a Z-Pack. Here's some antibiotics. You know, go on home and get some rest. And so that's what we'd done. And so this was 2 days later, was Christmas Eve morning, and she just was pale and lethargic, and I knew something was terribly wrong. And I thought, maybe pneumonia, you know, I mean, what are you thinking? So we went back to the pediatrician, and it was there. They said, listen, you're going to take a ride in the ambulance. And they didn't tell me anything at that point. Again, I thought it must be severe pneumonia. So Kris met us at the ER, and it was there that they told us, your daughter is very sick, and it's her heart. And it was shocking. It was shocking to us.
It was operating at about 20% capacity?
Yeah, it was.
At this point?
Yes. And she presented with a blood clot about the size of a gumball in her left ventricle that day in the ER because her body was not able to perfuse the blood. Her heart was not. So, like I said, it was very shocking to us, and as the day progressed, they said a third of the people with this, what they diagnosed her with is called viral myocarditis.
It means a virus has attacked her heart.
A virus has settled in her heart, and then her perfectly strong immune system, because she was a perfectly healthy kid at the time, was attacking that virus, weakening the heart. And so they said a third of people will survive with complications, a third will need a heart transplant, and a third would die. So that's what we heard that day.
So we have an unusual Christmas picture, our very first picture. Dad, tell us what we're looking at.
Well, actually, by Christmas morning, they had put her on life support. This is her brother at her bedside on Christmas Eve. But she got progressively worse after that picture and had to end up on full life support. They had a machine breathing for her, a machine running her heart, and unfortunately, that machine couldn't keep her alive for long. And the doctors, I still remember that moment on Christmas Day when they said, there's nothing that we can do.
The doctors
for your daughter.
said there's nothing we can do.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sitting here thinking of your powerlessness and being completely out of control. But now the people you are relying on to help are saying, we are powerless.
Absolutely. And at that moment, you know, the worst moment a parent could ever imagine, I know myself, I was about to just lose it. And Robin experienced the same thing. God's peace just came at that moment. And we call it the greatest Christmas gift.
It's Christmas Day that we received that peace.
He gave us his peace. And a Bible verse, Psalm 46:10, be still and know I'm God, is very important to us. And
Did that just come into your heart?
It had been a verse that was important to my wife for years, and she actually had a little plaque with that on it that she had brought to the hospital. So God had provided us just what we needed at just that time.
And that's all you had.
And that's all we had. So what we had to do is place our daughter in the hands of the one who created her and realize that if he was going to take her to heaven, that she was in his hands. But we still prayed that he would allow her to be healed. And from that moment, we gave her over to our Lord.
Now this was really, this peace, this stillness was really tested. Because Gracyn, I read that your eyes rolled back in your head and you actually said, I'm going to die. Yeah. You must have felt your body eroding. You were in trouble.
I didn't actually remember this part the best because by then I was just so like sick and weak and but I can remember I just felt like I couldn't do anything and that everything was going to be over. So
wow. Were you afraid?
I was afraid. I mean, I was afraid. I didn't know what was going to happen and I just wanted everyone to be with me so they could be there when I go.
Wow.
She told us later that she had wanted so much for us to be in the room because she wanted to see us before she died.
They had asked us to step out while they did rounds when this occurred, when she had lost enough, she wasn't getting enough oxygen. And it was during that time when she really felt she was going to die. And she was sad because we weren't going to be there. And she couldn't say goodbye. And she told me that later, like 2 months later. And it was crazy. But we witnessed her saying that and crying out, help me, I'm going to die. Because she was so delirious at that point, she didn't know she was saying that. But it was awful.